Welcome to Energy Linguist, a sacred space for awakening souls ready to receive divine transmissions and the raw truth that sets them free. I am Laura Ahern, a spiritual channel and energy translator here to bring through messages from highest guidance to help you hear your inner knowing, reclaim who you are beneath the noise, and live from the truth within. Take a breath. You've found the space where remembering begins. Hello, everyone. This is Laura, the Energy Linguist, and I am so excited to have you here with me again on this next episode of Energy Linguist Podcast, the space where we come into decoding your energy, healing your patterns, and awakening your path with these divinely healing transmissions. So thank you for being here and being willing to expand your consciousness with these divine messages. And I do mean that. I mean an extra thank you today because I'm bringing you more into my world of decoding messages today. Because today, what Divinity has in store for you is to start to break free of what we think is real. Right? What we see on the surface, what's kind of put in a box and limited, to be able to break free of that and to start to sense and see the truth, the infinite, expansive, divine truth that exists beneath our stories and our words, our experiences, and come into experiencing the truth in a whole new light and way. They actually say wave. So thank you for being here. As the energy linguist, I am very aware of the challenge that I am up against in translating divine messages on your behalf. And the reason is because, as it is with words, we have connotations of words, meaning certain words, all words, but some more than most, will invoke actually, a feeling in addition to the definition or use of the word. And so what happens is that Divinity has learned to speak my language as I have learned to interpret theirs. And as I go to channel these messages for the collective, what happens is I use English words that then tend to put the messaging back in boxes. So you can imagine how challenging this becomes, because what we are being met with is some of our own internal resistance and understanding every time we lock words back into their box. And so today, Divinity is bringing you into my experience of decoding a little bit more to play with the nuances and vibration. Now, this is their pun, literal vibrations of messages, to help you understand what is currently at play on our planet right now. Many of you who have been with me in other episodes understand that we are in the midst of an incredible awakening. And you also might understand that right now on the planet, those of us who are ascending and elevating our consciousness are meeting some challenges, really developing our spiritual muscles. And as you've heard me mention before, there is a very real risk of us getting trapped in this old world paradigm where the old world isn't just staying put, but what's happening is they're no longer staying, is what I hear Divinity say. They are decaying, because the old world ways are no longer working. And some of us may not yet understand why, which is what today's messaging is all about. Lately, I have been receiving a lot of intense experiences, vivid imagery, and very loud, powerful messaging from the divine around the echoes and patterns and cycles that are at play right now. And I do say at play, and they're not playing nice. I want you to understand. Some of you may be realizing that the old ways aren't working anymore. And I hear Divinity interrupt and say, they're not working for you anymore. Meaning the things that used to work, like you're just like, this isn't working for me anymore. How many of you feel that energy? Yeah, this isn't working for me anymore. They also are driving us into understanding why certain things aren't working for us anymore and why maybe we're trying to use old tactics or old things that did once work to mitigate what we feel is a problem and it's still not working. Maybe we're not as successful or we just can't convince ourselves into something we used to remain in. This is your indication that it is your time to outgrow that which you cannot function within any longer. The messaging that they have for you today is to help you see where they took me, the journey they took me on into unveiling this new awareness for us. Because the first thing they had me become aware of was what felt like echoes. It felt a little disorienting. It felt as if I kept seeing similar things kind of happen, the same thing over and over again. And though the experience itself may have been different, right? The storyline itself might have been different. There was an echo of sameness in the things I was experiencing. And it started to feel a little bit like cycles. And then they started channeling more clearly to me around the fact that this is no longer an echo that is occurring. It is no longer a cycle that we're running into within our own lives. It is what they are describing as a reverberation. One of the experiences of this reverberation in real life for me that then brought me into the awareness of the vibration, the truth that exists beneath this word was, I don't know if you've ever had this happen, but maybe you're driving down a road that you've driven down 100 times, but the light is falling on that road differently, meaning it could be a different season of the year, or maybe the clouds are kind of hiding the sun in a way that the angle of light makes that road look different. And maybe you have a momentary instant where you go, oh, am I still on the same road? Am I still where I'm supposed to be? And it feels different. It looks different, but there's this like semi certainty within you that, well, I must be on the same road because I'm doing the same thing I've always been doing. And the only comfort we take in knowing that we are where we think we are, or we are where we think we're supposed to be, is what I hear them say. I am where I think I'm supposed to be. The justification they're showing me is that I must be where I'm supposed to be. I must be where I intended to be because I was doing the same thing to get here. I took the same road. I stopped at the same light. I went past the same building, but something feels off. This energy of disorientation is what brought me into receiving this higher guidance around what is actually happening. Because what they keep pulling into, which we will continue to talk about on future podcast episodes, is this energy of trickery that is occurring. And this risk of being pulled into what they're calling hell on earth through being hooked by confusion. Maybe you've noticed something in your life that confused you, that didn't make sense. And so your mind became curious to want to figure it out. And maybe that looks like wanting to connect with someone that you know you should no longer be connecting with, or wanted to look at their stuff online or dig. I just feel like this seeking and searching. And it's a trick to kind of pull you in, to get you embedded in the distortion, they say. And they are warning you, big red flashing lights, alarms, warning you to not take the bait of confusion. This is a place that is so disorienting that you may not escape from it. And so it's very important for you to understand maybe why the confusion is existing, why maybe the old ways aren't working, why maybe you are not exactly where you thought you should be, and to help you come into a greater decision around where you choose to go from here. What divinity says is that what we are currently experiencing are no longer echoes. They are no longer cycles of repeat. There's a trick in that, because when we think it's just something that we have been through before, we somehow keep jumping into the identity that it's the same thing and that we are the same person. But these energies are not what they once were. They're actually worse. They're more toxic for us because they are what feels like a vortex of suction pulling you away from the new world of 5D consciousness into the old world ways. And remember, it's not just the old world where you're like, but I've been good here for all this time. I'm cool. It's fine. I know this. No, you don't. Because you have never seen the decay that is about to unfold in the existence of the old world paradigm. Divinity says, you cannot be lost to this. We need you to rise and become aware. The old world ways aren't working. And they want you to avoid falling into what you think is a cycle, what you feel, and they say a harmless cycle. Like, I've managed until now, I can just keep doing this. No, you cannot, is what I hear them say very loudly. Because you will root yourself in what is deceiving you to be something that you know when it's not. It is the 3D consciousness of decay and deceit. And the darkness will take it over. It is already starting to unfold. The reason that the old world ways are not working, and there's this disorientation of feeling like something should feel familiar, but it feels very off, is because the terrain of consciousness has shifted. And so now we are being invited and encouraged to sound, so to speak, right? Vibrate from our authentic source. If you are one of those who are noticing old patterns aren't working and the same ways aren't working, or the same things feel disorienting, or they're tripping you up and they're making you feel like you are crazy, you are not crazy. You are not wrong. If you're noticing that the way you used to resolve conflicts is no longer creating resolution, or that you can't settle for that distorted resolution. Or maybe you're noticing that you can't create the same level of connection that you once created, that you can't bring this depth of what you're seeking through the old means. It's because it's not landing the same. Your vibration is not landing the same, and it is not because there's something wrong with you. It is because you are of the new world and your consciousness and energy are ascending as such. And so what rises a lot of the time when we start to ascend our vibration into a higher consciousness is that there's frustration and confusion. But the truth underneath that frustration of feeling like you just can't seem to make it work is that there's something that is fundamentally shifted, and it is in our behalf. It's happening on our behalf. And so it's important for us to understand this difference, that this isn't the same thing we're up against anymore. The thing you are facing to battle, I see the word demon. Often there are inner demons, but they are, I feel like the hooks in the chain from within you attached to something external to you. So someone's got you hooked with your inner demons. The reason it's really important for us to understand that what we're up against isn't the same thing is we need to use different tactics for us to continue to evolve within this new vibration and this new paradigm. We are not in cycles anymore. What they're saying is we are in reverberations. And so just like that vivid imagery you may have experienced when I talked to you about driving on the same road that feels similar, but there's like this micro adjustment of light in the way the light falls on them differently. What divinity is trying to explain to us is that the terrain of consciousness has changed. And so these same kind of energetic vibrations that we were once putting out, or that the old world consciousness is putting out, are bouncing back and creating different results because the surface in which they're reverberating off of, that bouncing off of, is different. The conscious terrain is different. So let me explain a little bit about the vibration beneath the word reverberation. It is not like an echo, right? Echoes are kind of this unchanged reflection, which makes them feel more like a cycle, right? Returning to the same point. While reverberation means to strike back repeatedly. And there's this transformation that occurs in the striking back again, because as it bounces back, it hits a new and different surface, which then changes the vibration. So it's not the same unchanged reflection. What happens is the things that are being put out now by you in a higher consciousness or by those in the old world consciousness, no matter what it is, whatever vibration is being put out, it is hitting this new terrain of consciousness and bouncing back changed on account of it. So you can imagine, this is the exact reason why old vibrations are no longer having the same outcomes as they once did. It used to be an echo. It just would return unchanged. It feels, they're pointing me to projection. So I want to pause here with this messaging, because what they're showing me is that you have experienced throughout your entire life a lot of projection, where, yes, we are part of that too. We are projecting our feelings on other people when it's really me, it's not you. And you've also experienced others projecting their fears, their concerns onto you, and then you carrying them as if they're your fears and concerns. I get a huge yes that you understand this. What is happening within your experience of this shift from echo of projection to reverberation is that the things that are being projected on you that you used to go, yeah, that's similar, that's me, they no longer resonate, right? They've changed because your consciousness has changed. And so it's the first time where you're like, well, that's the same thing that they're throwing at me, but that is not me. I refuse to take responsibility for that. I refuse to take the label and the judgment of that. That is absolutely not me. And so it's incredible because it's the first time ever on this planet that we are at this point in time where we are recognizing what is no longer us, that maybe was never us to begin with. And it's available to all people. Those who are getting stuck and manipulated by the darkness in the old consciousness can't understand why that same tactic isn't influencing you anymore. And so divinity is calling you into removing yourself from wrestling to help them understand, because the understanding must come from within themselves. It cannot come from your influence on them. The greatest opportunity you have to influence them is to allow your vibration to rise, to allow yourself to ascend into this higher 5D consciousness, and to help be one of those incredible souls who is building the bridge to the new world through the new creations that become available once we ascend our consciousness fully into 5D. You cannot change the old world by jumping into the chaotic and toxic vibration to try to mitigate it from within. They say it's not mitigatable in there. You will get lost. You will get stuck. The resources you need to understand and help them understand do not exist in the old consciousness. There's an expansion point, is what they're calling it. It actually feels like a really hard, not like a ceiling, because it feels almost like a bubble that they're encapsulated in, of like they're going to meet up against this really hard surface. And you can't break through from within. So we must ascend and have this courage to go beyond, to create change, much like they talk about where peace gets originated from. It doesn't come from without us, it comes from within us. And so as we agree to be the change by following divine order, by ascending our consciousness, by leaning into love-based living, loving ourselves first and foremost is the biggest piece of this puzzle, you guys. It's not loving all of the things outside of yourself. It's not forgiving all of the things outside of yourself. It starts within, because we cannot offer up that which we do not have. I have had people say to me before that I can't love you any more than I already do. And I know that to be true because they cannot give me what they do not have. And the capacity that they are capable of loving me is only to the extent that they are able to love themselves. And so my request of them was for them to not try to love me more, for them to try to love them more. Because once that's available within them, love becomes boundless, as does our joy and our peace. And so we must go within ourselves and within our experiences to face that which we feel is ailing us on our inside, to decide differently around it, and harmonize the external world from within. And so on future podcasts, you're going to hear me talk about what does that harmony actually bring us? How does that magnetize us towards the future that's been calling us? Because that power exists within you. And it starts right here with this unconditional love and positive regard for yourself and all things you've gone through, all of them. Finding a way to see that you are not that regret. You are not that pain. You are the one who has made it through. And if you are feeling pain and discomfort around what you experienced, it's because you are not of it. You are not resonant with it. That is not who you are in nature. And so that is the greatest indicator that you are not your pain and you are not that experience. You are not your regret. You are something beyond it that seeks to find love, light, and peace. And that experience provides you wisdom to allow you to do just that. Within this current terrain of consciousness that we are navigating as we move into these higher vibrations of the new world, each reverberation, each vibration that we place out there shifts. It's different because the terrain is different. And so maybe you feel a little exhausted and depleted because you've been trying hard your whole life to be positive or loving or have an impact, and it hasn't happened up until now. I'm here to tell you that right now, the universal support for you to bring into creation that which your soul's desire has never been more powerful than it is right now. The energies that are at play support you in bringing your deepest desires into fruition. And it has everything to do with the shift in this terrain of consciousness. You might also be noticing that attempting to come from that place of old consciousness is creating decay because it's losing the ability to hold its form in this new light. What once bounced off against what seemed like almost like a smooth surface is what they're showing me is the old 3D world, like a mirror, right? That projection energy, just like it bounced off smoothly and it echoed right back. Because the terrain, imagine it being more bumpy and hills and like this adventurous, beautiful nature terrain. It bounces off, so it doesn't come back in its old form. It's broken apart, it's decaying. And so when we try to force ourselves to wrestle with and or understand the old vibration, to continue to utilize it and work with it and try to work with that old way of being with others, what you're going to notice is that attempt to force an old vibration into this new terrain creates an immense amount of dissonance. Now, I want to talk to you, because my background is in psychology, a little bit about cognitive dissonance on a very surface level here. Cognitive dissonance is when two things are at odds within ourselves, and so both cannot be true. So we kind of create this protective mechanism in the mind to reject one because we feel like one contradicts the other and both can't be true. So if you will, imagine that there's some sort of pain that you caused someone that you deeply regret, but you have a contradicting belief that says you're a very kind person that would never create harm for someone else. And because those two things are at odds, often what happens within our mind is that we, living in that old 3D paradigm where things are black and white, either or, we experience this dissonance and we say, both things cannot be true. Therefore, I am a good person that would never hurt someone, and it wasn't intentional. So therefore, I could not have participated in this in the way that other people think, and I am not responsible for causing that pain. And so we reject it, we shut it out. And what that has created is this trap of getting stuck in the old world, because the thing that we are hiding and concealing is still cycling, looking to be recognized, looking to be seen, so that we can bring it to the light and stop the cycling, stop that pattern. The cycling I'm talking about here, it's an adjustment, because you've heard me say it's not a cycle, it's not an echo. We're talking about a little bit different things here. The cycle they're talking about as it exists in the cycle of the unaddressed issue that exists within you, issues, they're saying plural, it's okay. They all have a similar root. So I know sometimes it feels like there's an unimaginable amount of things we need to deal with and it's too overwhelming and we cannot deal with it. But I'm here to tell you, yes, you can. Because even though you might have multiple stories that make it feel so different and so impossible, they're saying there's a root piece that is just looking to be acknowledged so that your wisdom can be derived from that beautiful seed and it can stop cycling. Because this cycle that they're talking about in the old world is turning into almost like a vacuum, like a vortex that's sucking you in. And so there's this opportunity to start to unveil and look at with bravery, with love, what has been hidden. This is how we prevent ourselves from falling victim to living in hell on earth. Right now, the majority of people who are trapped in the 3D old world consciousness are living in hell on earth. And so to help you understand what that means, I want you to understand the root core vibration of the word hell. Hell actually means at its root to conceal and to cover up. So when they're talking to you about living within this hell on earth, they're talking about living under the concealment of our true identity. They're talking about concealing the things that caused us pain, as if somehow it saves us from suffering if somebody else doesn't know about it. When that is the biggest deceiver, because it eats us alive, it decays us from within. Hell on earth is allowing ourselves to continue to be buried in the distortion, in the hiding that has happened for generations, and to keep showing up with our loved ones as if it's okay. To keep showing up as if we're this person in this dynamic and we're okay with it. And you know that's a lie. You are not okay with it. And you should not be. This living on earth in hell under concealment is the old 3D consciousness of decaying deceit, decaying patterns, concealment, not bringing to the light the thing that is creating pain, patterns, distortion, and instead allowing it to exist and grow stronger as that cycle continues. I see like that vortex, like picking up speed and the suction gets stronger. Never on our planet has it been so imperative for us to be willing to look at the pain that exists within our own experiences and to forgive ourselves. Forget forgiving others. That will come. Stop making it about somebody outside of yourself. That is the distraction from you actually loving you and holding space for you. How do you feel through it? What did you conclude about yourself through it? And how can you conclude differently about it so that it serves you? If you are looking for support in doing this, please purchase my book, The True Calling. You can find it on my website at lauraahern.com. This book helps you do exactly that. Within it, Divinity channeled to me the true method, which helps us to methodically go through practices that help us to do this, to come to terms with the things we've experienced, to love ourselves through them, to realize we are not our regrets and our pain, and to not only rise above them, but use them as fuel to fuel our empowerment and our self-worth, to realize that they have been offering us strength all along. But only when we're willing to look at them and see them and work through them do we prevent them from taking hold. Only when we're willing to see them can we take the power away from them, the power away from the darkness, and reclaim it for our light, the light that you innately are. You are not your regrets. Now is your time to manage that which rises within you. Otherwise, it exists in silence, and the vibration that that pain and that old identity puts out continues to cycle distortion in this world. You will keep striking at it, and it will echo back ineffective, where we feel that we are destitute, where we feel completely defeated, as if this is something we can't get past. And that's not true at all. You can't get past it if you keep looking at it the same way through the old lens of that consciousness. But you will get through it when you start to look at it through the lens of this higher consciousness. Reclaim your consciousness. And only then will you be able to fully embrace what divinity is offering you on these future podcasts, which is to truly start creating your reality from an inner vibration that magnetizes everything you desire and deserve to you without the self-sacrifice, without the burnout, simply by coming into your wholeness and being that which you are. So today, I hope you are immensely blessed by their message, and that in these messages, you choose to lean into your God-given nature, that divine light of knowing that you are perfectly made. You are not your pain, and you have the choice to let the old decay die and to uncover your light for the world to see. May you be blessed today and always. I cannot wait to be with you again on our next episode of Energy Linguist Podcast. All my love to you. Thank you for being here, for listening with your heart, and for opening to the truth meant just for you. If this transmission resonated, I invite you to visit lauraahern.com for free resources and sacred support to help you accelerate your awakening and walk your path with more power, trust, and grace. Until next time, trust what you feel, honor what you know, and believe in your power to create something greater than you've ever imagined.